I'm going to begin, Paul, by asking, I mean, your films sort of generally have been quite sort of male-centric, from the likes of About a Boy, sort of to American Pie, Being Flynn. I was wondering, since then we've seen Admission and now, of course, Grandma.
Yeah.
Is this a kind of conscious decision to move into more stories centering around kind of female characters?
Yeah. I mean, I realized when I was doing publicity for Admission that I was kind of ashamed that I hadn't done, I'd done films where there were strong female characters, whether it be Toni Collette in About a Boy or Scarlett Johansson in In Good Company, but I hadn't done one with a female lead, really. And I was kind of embarrassed about that. And it was really freeing in this case to have Lily's character not be a 70-something-year-old grandpa, but to have it be a grandma, because, to me the title's kind of ironic because Lily's character is extremely transgressive in punk rock, and much more sort of a wild, out-of-control figure than her granddaughter in the movie.
And I mean, but there is sort of one theme that does generally sort of tie your movies together. It's the relationship between people of different generations. I was wondering what it is about that sort of theme, I guess, that appeals to you as a filmmaker.
A couple of things. I really like the idea that we look at time as being linear, but it's actually, in the way we experience it, is more of a loop. So Lily's character, in helping her granddaughter stick up for herself and sort of giving the guy who knocked her granddaughter up his comeuppance, also is sort of unearthing ghosts from her past. She, at a certain point, goes to try to get some money from an old lover of hers, Sam Elliott, and they get brought back to this massive fight that they should have had when they were 21 years old, but that they didn't, and that they're having now. I guess I like taking a look. I also like mentor stories where the person who's supposedly being mentored in some ways is more insightful than the older character. It's another similarity between this and About a Boy.
And just a quick word on Sam Elliott, because you just mentioned him. I mean, with his voice, did you ever just sit there and just close your eyes and sort of imagine you're in a world of pillows? Because that's what I do.
I feel for Sam because, I think he does some really amazing acting in this movie, not least because he's known for being sort of masculine and stoic in a certain way, and in this movie he starts as that and then becomes something else. But I feel for him because even my mom, when she visited the set, when she went up to him and said, "Oh, I love your voice," and I'm sure sometimes he's like, "What about the rest of me?" So I think he's happy that he gets to make a lot of money from his voice. But
and I mean, many sort of directors will generally start with kind of small indie flicks and then move into kind of bigger studio films. And you sort of seem to have gone the kind of opposite direction, which is actually quite sort of refreshing. But is that because you became disillusioned with the kind of studio production, or I mean, how does it?
Well, in a weird way, I didn't go to film school, and this is the 10th film I've directed, and I had no intention of becoming a director. Essentially, I was going to be a playwright. No, it's true. I've kind of, in a way, the films have gotten more personal as I've gone along. There's a lot of films I liked over the last couple of years which were very, very low budget. And I like the idea that you can't really reduce sort of comedy or acting or writing. It has nothing to do with the budget. And sometimes having a bigger budget is a pain in the butt.
And I was wondering, in regards to casting Lily, I mean, I read that you wrote the role for her. I was wondering, did you tell her that you'd written the role for her, or did you sort of decide to tell that after she'd accepted?
No, I sprung it on her over lunch. I'd already written it, and I remember she was having a steak salad, and I was worried she was going to choke on the steak. I was thinking to myself, maybe you should order something else, because I correctly guessed that she'd be a little worried about whether she's going to like the script or not. She doesn't want to have somebody say, "I've written something for you," and then have to say it's not for me. It was kind of nerve-wracking, but also I think the only person who could pull this movie off was her.
And does it help you when writing character to, generally speaking, across your career, to picture someone in the role, even if it's not the person that eventually takes it? Does it help you just to get to sort of grips with their dialogue, how they kind of carry themselves? Yeah,
sometimes I do that. And look, in this case, really, it was so specifically catered to her. And when my brother and I started out, the first movie we wrote was an animated movie called Ants, which starred Woody Allen, and we wrote it for him and pegged it to a particular part of his career. So actually, the first gig I ever had was writing something tailored to somebody. And sometimes I'm able to do it, sometimes not. And if you're stuck, sometimes it can really help. But then, I don't know who else I would have had to do this, but sometimes you do have to get over it because the person doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. So just sort of hypothetically speaking, had she been unable to take this on, would have had to have changed the character to match the sensibilities perhaps of another actress, or would you have kept it exactly as it was?
It probably would have been Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Yeah.
Would you have had to call it Grandad?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it was really virtuosic.
Yeah, unless he wore a dress. But...
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey!